I want to welcome you to the Edge. Brains, hello, and how are you? I am so excited to introduce you to today's phenomenal guest. It is Marie Elizabeth Malley. Now, I want you to go with me on a journey. I want you to be patient because I want you to understand what we're about to do here. Okay, so let me try to paint a picture for you. Okay, what is a mosaic? A mosaic is a picture or decorative design made by setting small color pieces as stone or tile into the surface. The process or art of making such pictures or design is a composite of pictures made of overlapping unusual aerial photographs. So just for the sake of a visual, this would be kind of a mosaic. But two, it is much like love, brains. It's layered, it's textured, it's colorful, it's challenging. But most of all, you have to be creative and work with mixed mediums. Now, the look of relationships have changed and evolved over time with online dating and homosexual marriage, polyamorous relationships, transgender, multiracial, different ethnicities, and age. But our guest today, Marie Elizabeth Malley, she's defined herself as a relationship coach for the creative. Now, what is the creative, you say? It is a relationship. It's an involvement of the imagination or an original idea, especially in the production of an artistic work. You know, creatives are unleashed people. They are non-traditional, unorthodox. Me.
Me.
They're unusual. They're out of the ordinary. They're like blue sky geniuses. So Elizabeth is here as a relationship coach and underwater photographer with a master's in fine art. You see how that all came together, Brains? She's a daughter, she's a partner, a poet, a lover of sharks, and she is here on the edge to explain to us what this all means, what it looks like, and how to help us color in the white spaces. Welcome our guest, Brains. How are you, Marie Elizabeth Malley?
Hi, April. Gosh, that's maybe one of the most favorite introductions I've ever had. Hi.
Oh, that makes my heart flutter because I honor you, the work that you do, and it's very intricate work, and so to put yourself kind of in not a bubble, but a more confined space with working with just this group of individuals, because I'm telling you, when you're creative, we think we know every damn thing. You can't tell us nothing.
That's the truth.
Because we created, right? We created. So tell us a little bit about you and how you evolved, Mama.
Well, I've always been kind of unconventional, so I've always done my own thing. I began doing massage therapy in my early 20s. I went on and studied acupuncture. And then after 13 years of patient care, I realized that the call to write was louder than the call to continue working with clients. And so I actually closed my practice. I went back to school. I spent 10 years focused as a writer. In those 10 years, I also got married and also got divorced. And then about 5 years ago, the call to work with people again got louder than the call to be exclusively a writer. And so that's when I returned to coaching and began to really focus on coaching around relationships, because I had to do my own deep dive to understand my experience in relationship, what made me tick, why my marriage didn't work, what I wanted next, what would be the relationship that would work for me in the future. And as I did that work, I gained a lot of clarity on what really makes us tick as creative people. Because like you said, we're outside the box in so many ways. And we have this channel that we access where, some people, they even feel like they have connection with a muse, or they with God, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
Sacred channel we access to make things, which can sometimes feel like it gets into conflict with our relationships because those are so human.
Now, let me ask you, because I like to hold my guest feet to the fire here on the edge. What makes you the subject matter expert? Now, I've been married to Mr. Magnificent for 35 years.
Hmm.
Maybe, and you talk about some peaks and valleys. It hasn't really been that bad. It's been pretty consistent. But I am the creative. Okay, I don't think outside the box, girl. I design a whole new one. Okay, I'm a big dreamer, and he is very balanced. He's very stable, and so he has always been my dream catcher, not my dream crusher. But
Yeah.
when you're working with a person that is, out of the box like this, how do you learn to appreciate that? Because, it can be combative sometimes.
It sure can. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you today, actually, because you shared how good your relationship has been, despite these differences, really having very different orientations toward life. And I think as creative people, number one, we want to appreciate stability because it's not necessarily our native.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm getting like a wobble. Can I? Because I don't want people to miss any of this. Your mic is kind of wobbly.
It is? Okay, is this better?
I'm getting kind of like a feedback. Are you on a
Um,
Brains, you just got to hold on for a minute because we don't want to miss a word.
1 second. Let's see. Adding in headphones. So now I have headphones and a mic. Is that better?
Delicious.
Oh, great. Well, you sound divine in my ears, so we're all good.
All right.
So one thing as creatives, I think sometimes we are so enamored of the creative process, of inspiration, of creativity, of the new, that sometimes we can tend to not appreciate stability, steadiness, the things that your partner, for example, that your husband offers you all this time. He lets you dream and roam and go all over the place, and he holds down a certain foundation that we need in life, right?
Right, because you know what? I'm a risk taker.
Okay? Yeah.
And when you are a risk taker, you're kind of an airhead and aloof too. Now, you got
can be.
Yeah, because you can get yourself in a whole lot of trouble, not being able to tether it down.
That's right.
Again, like I painted the landscape, relationships have changed, and they haven't changed. They just surfaced. Okay.
Right.
So you have polyamorous relationships.
Yeah.
How do you speak to that client about, because it's not about monogamy, but that's a creative type of relationship.
Absolutely.
That?
Well, I speak to that with a lot of acceptance and awareness that when we open our relationships to allow for more than one person, it's a very courageous act because it will surface any place in us where we might still cling or feel jealous or have fear of loss. It's as I see it, in some ways, polyamory is like the Olympics of relationship. It is not a beginner stance. And just like monogamy, polyamory can be done with deep consciousness and awareness and in the service of every single person's growth, or it can be done sloppily and unconsciously. And monogamy too. Monogamy can be done with a lot of awareness, with recognition of the deep work it takes to stay interested in the same person for a very long time, and how you keep getting to new places together.
I'm going to write a book on it because, again,
right? And monogamy can also be sloppy.
Oh, right. You have to be open to evolution because people's change, their needs change, their wants change, their desires change, so we have to be open to that conversation if you want to stay in it. Now,
that's right.
So speak to the couple that is consciously uncoupling.
Yeah.
Because it's a certain mindset that they need to have too. They need to be more relaxed. And not be so combative and so much conflict because they still need to find a sense of self so that they can separate. Would you agree?
I completely agree. And ultimately, whatever the container is, whether you're in a monogamous or a polyamorous container, whether you're married or not married, whether you're heterosexual, homosexual, non-binary, genderqueer, whatever container you're in, as I see it, the purpose of relationship is for each of our growth. It's about being conscious and becoming more conscious through the mirror that is another person in your life. And so in that way, any relationship container serves you. It's about finding the one that fits you.
Right. Now, you are in a pretty full container. Do you mind talking about your personal relationship at all?
Oh no, we're an open book.
Okay, so you have a very beautiful relationship with a much younger man that is of, I'm under the assumption, African American descent. What does that look like now? You know, folks used to be crunchy to see a white woman and a black man. They want to scratch your eyes out, okay?
I know.
Is that the conversation that people are having now, or is that, it's socially, quote unquote, acceptable for whatever that means?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a kind of bubble we've created around us, but we have not run into trouble. We've not run into anybody, hating on us I do get nervous sometimes. For example, we drove across the country, and it's not that we're not careful. So I would say one thing is mostly we live in Los Angeles and New York, where things are more progressive, and it's not as unusual to see interracial couples. Mm-hmm. Number two, we take care. So when we drove across the country, for example, there were parts of the country where we chose our route carefully. Mm. And, Patrick planned the route. His name is Patrick. And he actually looked up towns, because we drive a Tesla. So we had to look for superchargers where we could charge the car. Right. And so he looked up towns where the superchargers were. And if there were fewer than a certain number of Black folks in that town, we chose a different route. Because as he says it, he said, I don't want to be anybody's first Black person. I don't want to be introducing somebody
right.
to me. I don't want to be on the evening news, and I don't want to break a town in. Right. So he chose the route deliberately. So because of that, and because of who we both are as people, and I think the energy that we emanate, right, we have not ever had any kind of harassment.
Does that include family members?
That includes family members. My family, it's funny because my family is, on my father's side, is Latino, Venezuelan. So there were a few little comments, but they took to him really quickly and loved him. The comments were things like just kind of sexual innuendos, the kind of, I don't know, I'm trying to remember a specific comment. This was the extent of it. It was like, we were eating something and I was like, oh yeah, I love chocolate. And they're like, oh yeah, we know you do. That was the level of the comment.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool with it.
Which was fine. It was funny and I didn't sweat it, and we moved on, and they love him. They adore him.
Well, and you know what? It's getting to know the person, because there's nothing that you can do with this exterior.
There's nothing.
There's nothing you can do.
But and can I say that, when I was meeting his family, I was nervous. I wasn't sure how they would feel about me. I'm 14 years older than him, and, I'm a white lady and all this stuff. And his family was so welcoming and wonderful, and his friends have been amazing. So, either side, there's been really no flack.
Well, they're good, because they looked into your heart and not to the exterior. But you go even deeper than that. Girl, you go down to the bottom of the sea. Oh, I envy you. I envy you. Brains, she is a underwater photographer for sharks. I want you to tell us two things. Number one, in a relationship, how do you detect the shark? And number two, what does it look like when you are under the sea?
Oh, I love this question. So in a relationship, I'm a passionate advocate for our inner shark. And what is that part of us? That is the part of us that is right with who we are, does not apologize for our power, that is sensitive to our surroundings. What people don't know about sharks is that they have these sensing cells at the front of their face and around the sides, and they can sense any movement in electricity, because we emanate electricity. So they're reading the electricity in the water to feel where prey is and what's swimming around. They also see, obviously, but they have this supreme sensitivity to their environment. And so this is another aspect of sharkiness that I like to promote in relationship. Can you feel your partner? How do you train yourself to feel your partner, not just look at their face for cues, but actually sense, oh, my partner is kind of full right now. I better not make that request right now. Or maybe I ask, hey, is this a good time to ask you a question? Instead of just, I need you to do this, with no
Or
sensitivity.
how about in the middle of the night when they sink their teeth into you?
Yo, that's hot too. Yeah, exactly. So
You know,
that's the other part of the shark I wanted to name that you just named is our beast. So
yeah,
we all have a part of us that is, powerful and hungry and sexy and turned on, and a lot of us have that really stuffed down.
mm,
It's not safe to express in our
shame on
culture.
shame on you.
That's it. That's it. And so, you want to work with your partner on what are ways that feel good to both of you, to let that out with each other, to be real, to show each other all of you.
So not only do you go under there, but you also you go down in the cage and you photograph them. Where's some of the
Yeah.
publications? Where's your work been?
Well, it's been the publication. Let's see, I haven't really published pictures of sharks, but they're available online.
Mm,
And I can give you the link to that should you like.
yeah.
But the some of the photography I do is in a cage, only with great whites. With other types of sharks, like oceanic white tips or reef sharks, or I haven't gotten to photograph tiger sharks yet. I'm dying to photograph tiger sharks, but hammerheads, all of that is outside of a cage.
Oh, wow.
And what I love about being with sharks is that they have this beautiful, lazy undulation in the water. And you can sense all this power coiled inside of them, but they know they don't have to beat you over the head with it all the time. They only bring it out when they need it, which is like when they decide to go for a piece of fish, for example. They, all of a sudden they just shoot through the water. But until then, nothing's happening. They just are so relaxed and they're just kind of in their own being. And I think we can learn a lot from that we don't have to beat each other over the head with our power all the time. It's enough to know we're powerful and then read a situation to know how to be.
Well, not only do you read, but you write. You're a poet. Tell us a little bit about your poetry.
Well, writing really emerged for me as my father was dying in 2000, in early 2000. And I found that the way that I could move through his dying with him and stay present and really be the best partner through his death that I could be, because I really helped him kind of come to an acceptance of dying before he died, was to write. So I spent hours a day just journaling and meditating and reflecting and being with myself. And through that process, my desire to write poetry, because I found poetry really the most distilled and potent way to access states of deep feeling and then translate them into imagery and lines, that could connect with another and take them into that deep feeling. I love writing for that. It connects me to myself and it connects me to others. I know you know this as a poet yourself.
I love it. I love it. Poetry is just a way of expressing yourself. You're very vulnerable. You're very raw. Everybody's not going to come back with hand claps and finger snaps, but
That's right.
You're communicating something and you have to take the time to understand and let people translate. So
Yes.
what are you doing right now in the world to make it a much better place? Share that with my friends.
Oh, I'm going to share something from my client session this morning. So I work one-on-one with clients who especially want to improve their relationships, not only with others, but also with themselves. And I have a client I've been working with now for 6 months. And this beautiful thing happened. There's been a lot of tension in their relationship. And there's been, ups and downs as there are in a 20-year marriage. And just this morning, we were working on shifting her thought about why he wants her to do stuff. So let me explain. I'm going to get very granular here for a second. So he likes to make a lot of requests for her to do things for him. And so how that lands for her is he's trying to control my free time. He just wants to fill up all my free time with his stuff. Mm-hmm. And as we work together, we reframed the thought to, one of the things that lets him know he's loved by me is when I do things for him. So when he's asking me to do something for him, what he's actually asking for is for me to demonstrate love. And so by changing that irritated thought to the thought of like, oh, every time he asks me for something, he's honoring his love language, which is he likes acts of service, then she can respond from a better place. So instead of responding with like, oh my God, I don't have time for that, leave me alone, kind of thing that might be happening in her head, she can respond with, oh, honey, I would love that to do that for you if she does. Or if she doesn't want to do it, or she can't do it today because she's busy, she can respond with, oh, I'd love to do that for you, just not today. I don't have space today. How
Right.
about tomorrow?
Right.
So what that does is it brings the tension level down in the relationship. His request gets honored, but her need to honor her own schedule also gets honored.
Yeah.
So then they can start to, connect better again.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, let me ask you one last question. Who pours into you? Who keeps you razor sharp? You sharp.
Oh, well, the ocean pours into me for sure. Any chance I can go on a dive trip, I get so nourished. And I have a whole team. Let me tell you, to be a top coach, you need to have top coaches yourself.
Right.
I don't think this work happens in a vacuum, and I think we all need support. So I have a coach, Alexandra Stockwell, who she's been a coach of mine for at least the last 3 years, both for myself and for my business and for Patrick and my relationship. She's a couples coach and she's a former doctor turned couples coach, and she coaches people around having conscious relationships. So a lot of the breakthroughs Patrick and I have had in the last 8 months have been with Alexandra's support. Then I also work with Pamela Madsen, who has a beautiful retreat business that she takes women on called Back to the Body, where she works with women on their sensuality, their desire, really awakening their relationship to their own body in a deep way. And what I've received through the 4 retreats I've done with her in the past year is I've really landed in an awareness of how supported I am, that I'm not doing this alone, that I'm supported, that the masculine and the feminine weave together in this beautiful way. And it's really changed on a cellular level my own relationship to my desire, to my sexuality, to how I relate to men. It's really grounded and expanded that in a beautiful way that I now can bring to my clients because I embody it.
Right.
And then I have an amazing business mentor named Marisa Murgatroyd. I have 2 business mentors, actually, Marisa and Jennifer Deep Stratton. They are both incredibly creative, loving, amazing, supportive, brilliant, genius human beings who pour into me.
Edge, right?
Yes, indeed.
Absolutely.
And they're brilliant. And so I do mentorship with both of them right now as well. I'm in a year-long program with both of them. So those are my 4 main people.
You are doing the most, from the top of your lens camera down to the bottom of the sea and everything in between.
That's right.
Being here with us, Marie Elizabeth Malley on The Edge. Please tell my brains how to get in contact with you if they want to have some relationship coaching for creatives.
Yeah, so you can find me at memali.com, which is spelled MEMALI, like the country Mali.com. And there you'll actually find a free gift, which is 3 blocks to having the relationships you want. So if there's some reason you don't know why you keep ending up in the same patterns again and again, or attracting the same type of person again and again who doesn't work for you, pick up that free guide, give me a shout. You can also sign up for a free relationship breakthrough session there, and we'll get to the bottom of what's happening in your relationship and how to weave it together more skillfully with your other big love in your life, which is your creativity. I would love to serve you and talk to you at any time.
All right. Brains, take her up on this offer. Please share this video with all of your friends all over the planet, okay? Sharing is caring, and that's what we're doing here on The Edge. We are going to have such great shows lined up. Thank you so much, Marie Elizabeth Malley, for being here with us and opening your heart and being so vulnerable and raw and real. I appreciate you and I honor and I value you. Please come back and visit me again. Okay?
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. And I never get to say how much I love that you call your people brains. I
Oh,
just think that's so wonderful. I love
well,
it.
girl, because I'm telling you, because they're sharp. They know how to
They're
think.
sharp. Yeah. And
Think
you're
from a
sharp and
bit.
your questions are wonderful. It's just such a joy to talk with you today.
Well, you're awesome sauce. All right, Brains, do the best that you can do. Weave in and out of the landscape. Create a mosaic.
Oh, yes. I have such a thing for skulls. I just love that you brought out a
Right?
skull. That was divine. That was divine guidance right there.
All right, Brains, I love you to eternity and back. Until we meet again tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.